You have found the Open Eclectic Podcast, where Nate and Josh talk about everything from mobile games to books to pet peeves to cars to toys. Our interests run eclectic and we're open to more. Welcome to the Open Eclectic.
Hello, Josh.
Nate, honorable guests,
Whoever you are.
welcome to the Open Eclectic.
That's right. We got ourselves a new name now, don't we?
Name.
There's a little, there's been a few things have happened since we talked last. I think you alluded to that a bit in our intro to the first episode.
Yeah, you may have heard about the pandemic.
I've heard about it.
Not Pandemic the board game, the pandemic, Corona. Although I think there should be a Corona version of Pandemic, and they should call it Pandemic the board game. Pretend like it's a movie tie-in.
The board game based on the international phenomena.
Based on the international worst seller, Corona 19.
The worst year plus probably 2 years of everyone's lives. I mean, it hasn't been terrible for me and my family personally, but obviously it's been terrible for a large number of people throughout the world.
Yeah. Apparently it's no fun.
No.
It's a lot of mixed...
Getting it obviously for some people is a fatal thing, a terrible thing. I don't really know anyone who's gotten it. I know like one person who got it, and she's mostly just, knocked her out for a while, and then she's, tired, but she's still alive, thankfully.
I know an older couple who were in like some of the first batch of U.S. people to get it because they were on a cruise that it ran rampant like through the ship, I guess. And so I've talked to her about it, and she was like, I mean, we say that like, oh, this is no fun, but getting sick is never fun, no matter what it is, and no matter what level you get it at. They had a really low level? It's weird. There should be like degrees like there is for burns or cancer and stuff. So you can be like, yeah, I was a blah, blah, blah. You'd be like, oh, so you had a mild case. I guess we could just say it's a mild case. Anyway, they had a real mild case. They were like, it was fine. We lived.
Right.
Other people not so lucky, but anyway.
Right. I saw today that we hit 3 million worldwide deaths, which is a big number. Obviously, sad milestone.
Yeah. Are you on the TikToks much?
No, I'm not on the TikToks.
I highly recommend you don't.
Okay, because I mostly see like people reposting on like Instagram or Reddit or something, but I'm not actually on it.
This podcast still not sponsored by Reddit, by the way.
No. Yeah, even though we did talk about it I talked about it a lot last time. Since
then, I've become, I don't know, a Redditor, I guess. I've made posts, I've commented. Mm-hmm. It's been an experience. But I brought up TikTok because there's this guy who, Ben Brainard, I think is his name, who's a comedian in Florida. He does this bit where he pretends to be different states as they talk to like the government kind of a thing. And so he was Florida for a while, and he was like, hey, we have a new high score. And the government's like, this is not a game.
It's not a game.
You don't want high numbers for this.
High numbers.
He was like, what? Then how do you win?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It'd be like New Zealand if you want to win, I guess.
No joke.
But anyway, we're not here, to talk about the pandemic, even though obviously it's, been part of our lives. We're here to talk about board games tonight. I guess is what we're going to talk about. But anyway, the reason why we're talking about pandemic was, our excuse for being so much time in between. Other things happen as well and get busy and but we're here now and ready to talk about some cool stuff.
Yeah, so Nate, you backed a game on Kickstarter a while ago, and it finally came, and we were able to experience that. So, have you backed other stuff on Kickstarter too? Or was this the first time?
No, I've backed some other stuff on Kickstarter. I'm trying to think. One of them was, and don't worry, listeners, we'll get to what Josh is talking about. But anyway, so I backed Exploding Kittens.
Did you? Nice.
From the Oatmeal guy.
Yeah.
Card game. I actually haven't really played it much. And then I backed it was a card game. It was made by people who make computer sports simulation games.
Okay.
They're not like a big company. I can't remember what they're called, but they were making a card game. It was a card football game, and so it had I should have dug it out, for this, but it had I think it had different rosters for whatever year that I got it in. That might have been 2014 or something, but anyway, it was all right. It was kind of fun, but this one that we're talking about now is probably the biggest one that I have backed so far.
And how did you come across this? So the game is called Moonrakers.
Yes. I don't remember how I found it. I wonder, it might have been, I honestly don't know. It might have been something like, hey, maybe Kickstarter was like, you might be interested in this, or I don't know, maybe I read about it in an article or something, or I don't know, but I managed to back it. So
nice.
I got, it takes a couple years for everything to go, come to fruition. But yeah, I backed it and got the game, and Josh and I and some others played it.
Yeah, and I gotta say that the quality, right out of the box. Nate brings this thing over, and the box art is gorgeous. It's not overstated. It's not really. It's almost verges on understated a little bit, but it's kind of got a instantly spacey feel. And as he started pulling the components out, I noticed that all of these components are of an excellent quality. You never know what you're gonna get sometimes on Kickstarter. I've noticed. Sometimes you'll back something, or I'll see people who back something and they'll be like, yeah, it came. It was I don't know, fine, I guess. But it seems like for what they were asking for, it was a premium game. Because some of the coins that you use, the money that they use is actual coins, so they clink together, which is...
It's got a nice weight to it. Makes you feel important. I'm handling real currency, even though you're not.
Yeah. Then it comes with, was it 5 or 6 unique shaped ships, which is kind of the premise of the game a little bit, right? You are captain of a ship.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 ships in there, and you take on different missions. What's cool about it, though, is that you can, you don't have to, but you can request that other players help you with these, and oftentimes you have to if you want to fulfill this contract or whatever that you're doing. It might be a rescue mission, out in space, or I don't know, an easy one ferrying space tourists somewhere. But there's certain different criteria that you have to fulfill on each one, and oftentimes you don't have the resources yourself to just do it by yourself. So you have to ask other people for help.
Yeah, and you can upgrade the different parts of your ship to different things, and then there's crew that you can take on, if I remember right.
Yep. They give you different bonuses and stuff. Crew, and you can put parts on your ship that'll give you some type of benefit. And there's other in addition to the contracts, there's secret missions that you can accomplish that help you progress in the game.
Yeah, you complete so many missions and so many of these secret missions that you have. So some of them is to get all of a certain type of part on your ship. You can have up to 4 parts to upgrade your ship. And so one of the cards is, if you have 4 of this same type, because there's different categories, just I don't know, I guess different aftermarket parts for vehicles now. But like in space. So yeah, if you get 4 of those and you get a certain boost, and then it moves you up, and the goal is to get to, I want to say it's like 10 points on, there's like a little tracker.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like honor or something like that. I could be totally wrong.
It's got a unique name that it's escaping my mind right now for their point system. But overall, it's just an amazing bit of strategy and kind of a unique balance, I thought, for requiring you to co-op with your other players, because it's not just you doing your thing and then like you try and thwart people. It's, you know, when you take a contract and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna try and do this, but who can help me? Because you only have, and we actually played this wrong the first time we played, but you only have so many actions on your turn. And after those actions are done, then your turn's basically over.
Yep.
So you kind of have to have help for some of the missions, but after you but you say that you're taking a mission, and then you ask for help. It's not really like, if I take this, who would help me? So there's kind of a little bit of a risk and reward factor there, where people can just suddenly be like, you know what, you're getting too close to winning, I'm not helping you.
I know that actually one of those little secret extra quests or whatever, or missions, is to complete one of the contracts by yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good one if you can get it. So with that one, you're like, hey, I got to find one of these really easy ones that only takes requires a couple of these resources that we have, so that I don't have to rely on somebody for it. I don't know if I actually completed one myself. I tried and I failed.
Same.
So,
pretty sure one of our players did, though. Pretty sure she knocked that one out of the park. For the do-it-yourself.
I think she
one.
did too. And she liked the game so much after we played it that she went out and bought it herself. So,
for her parents, I think, for
family,
their anniversary or something.
So Moonrakers, there you go.
I would say it's,
the company, I'm like, hey, we generated you a sale.
Yeah, that's right.
If you want to kick back to us a little bit, that'd be cool.
This podcast is still unsponsored.
So, yeah, just throwing that out there. Anyway, sorry.
I will say that for anybody who picks it up, when you get it out of the box, it is a little daunting. There's kind of a lot of components to the game, but in a way, it's nice because it gives you almost like a playmat to lay everything out on. So it just makes the game feel a little more premium to me, as opposed to a few games where you just kind of, they're like, and make your discard pile, and make your this pile, and here's your draw pile. Instead, it's like a board with play mats and miniature player mats where it has it all laid out for you. So everything kind of has a spot.
And I'll say it is daunting. It's not Fallout, the board game, daunting.
Oh, geez.
Or, now I'm taking a stab here because I've never played it, but Axis and Allies level? That seems...
That one...
You've always wanted to play it.
I actually have Axis and Allies, like one of the older versions where it's the whole world still. And I've played it a few times, but it's been a really long time. And it's setting that game up. If you're hosting an Axis and Allies night, like, you have to prepare. And, like, I have to prepare, and I'd have to, like, cover the rules again so that way I can help people set up right away. Because the last time I played it, it was, no joke, 40 minutes of setup time. And by the time we had everything set up, we were like, well, that was satisfying. Let's put it away now.
I'll say, I think Fallout was almost that level, too. Like, for me, because it was like, we were just playing it for the first time, so we had no idea how it worked. I hadn't watched any videos or read anything about it, so I just, I was a Fallout fan because of the video games. So I was like, I'll get this board game. And, yeah, it was like trying to understand the rules, trying to set it up right, and yeah, it's like, 40 minutes later, we're like, okay, we're ready to go home now. Let's just put it in the box. And I don't know if we were playing that game right or not when we played it. Who knows? I think didn't we play it twice?
I think we played it 2 or 3 times, or we played it twice in a night, and then we played it again another night to kind of see how it would go. And it went well, I think.
Yeah, I think it did. Once we got it figured out, it's just, yeah, that setup seems like it did take a long time, but kind of once we got into a rhythm with, seeing, how each turn went and how, like, the whatever the quests that we did, how those worked, it was pretty fun. But it always kind of it stays with me how difficult it was to set up and to understand. So I'll say Moonrakers is not that level for me.
Yeah. And the instructions were actually laid out really, really well, I thought. Some games it gets a little dodgy with the rules and the way that it's laid out, and so it always feels like it's better to have somebody who knows how to play to kind of explain it to you, and that helps with the Moonrakers too. But as we were reading through the rules, we were like, oh, okay, no, this makes sense. It's a logical progression for how you should explain how the game works.
Yeah, and we figured it out, and although we were hung up on that, on the turn, the way that you could, like, you have a deck of, like, these resource cards or whatever that you play as part of your turn, and we were thinking that you could just, shuffle through those multiple times, like endlessly, basically.
Yeah, because some cards allow you to draw more cards. And so we thought that, well, if you have cards that tell you to draw cards, even if your personal card stash is gone, well, then you should shuffle your used ones and keep going, right? Apparently that's not the case. So,
that was really, when we were playing it that way, that was really helping us complete these contracts. And so,
complete them alone, especially, too. There was not a lot of, not as much camaraderie and help me help you kind of stuff going on.
Right. So, yeah, it definitely makes it a lot more difficult to complete those contracts, but it highlights the importance of, soliciting help and working with people. And so it creates this kind of, so you pick a contract and then you ask for help, and then it creates this, kind of like bargaining, this like bargaining system where you're like, okay, because you get like a monetary reward, you get progress towards the goal, like earning those honor points or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then
sometimes you get ship parts or like crew or something like that. That's a little but yeah, that's not the honor or the monetary value. And so you kind of, everybody can see how much it's worth. So it's not like you draw something face down and you're like, okay, I have a contract and I need help. But you kind of can bluff as to what you get for your reward. Everybody sees the one that you take and can see what you're going to get paid for it.
So you can definitely, you negotiate, like, if you're asking for help, you're like, who wants to help me? And someone can be like, well, I'll do it for X amount of the monetary reward, because you can use that to buy the parts and the crew, later. Yeah. Or I'll do it for the little flavor text thing, like the ship part or whatever bonus thing, or I'll do it for the the progression towards the end of the game. So depending on what those little extra contracts you have, you might not you can keep this to yourself. You'd keep this to yourself, obviously. Like I don't care about this part, so I'm just gonna say okay.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the contracts have specific requirements to complete them. So like you need a certain type of part almost on your ship or in your personal draw deck to complete it. The downside is you don't know what you're going to draw from that draw deck necessarily. So the more cards you get that get added to it, obviously the greater your chances are of getting something you don't need. So sometimes you need a really, really specific thing. And if you don't have a lot of it, but I know that Nate does, that's kind of where that camaraderie and completion of the contracts come in. In some ways, did you ever see Cowboy Bebop? The anime?
I did not. I have not seen that. It's been recommended to me many times.
Probably by me.
Yeah. Yes, and you and others. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the way that the contracts work in Moonrakers actually reminds me a lot of how the contracts work in Cowboy Bebop, where there's like a hollow net or like an internet type thing that gets blasted out to all the bounty hunters or whatever that are in the guild. So that's kind of what it seems like to me. You can't really hide what the reward is necessarily.
Right.
And so, in the show, there's not a lot of bounty hunters hooking up and being like, yeah, let's complete this contract and split the reward. more cutthroat. But
right, they're just like big rewards, so we want to take the contract or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
yeah, and then another part of it is like, so we're talking about camaraderie and like working together and cooperation and all that, but just because you say you want to help doesn't mean that you're actually going to help. Like you could screw. I mean, that's actually one of the secret missions or whatever is to like is to sabotage, is to help and like sabotage it. So basically, like I think it's like you agree to help and then you cause it to fail, basically, or you help with a mission but it fails.
Yeah, because there is an option to do nothing. So like you have so many actions, but you could just be like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, you don't have to keep going.
The downside is that so there's actually a risk factor with the contracts, the face-up contracts too, where if you take the contract, you're committed to it. So there's a penalty on some of them where you can go down in honor, or you could potentially lose like a degree of monetary value or something like that. So there is like a little bit of a risk. So you got to be careful when you're completing that secret mission. Like when you use it to screw over a table mate, you don't want to do it at a point where it's going to cause them a ton of harm. But at the same time, maybe you do.
So I'm reading on their site, it's prestige.
Prestige.
Close enough. Whatever.
That was pretty close, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess there's dice rolling in it. Like one of the factors of the contracts is how the risk or the danger of it, and that's like how many defense die you have to roll,
Yeah,
and
because basically there's a chance for it to go wrong, and there's special D6 that 6-sided dice that come in the game that basically are, like you were saying, damage dice. So you can roll for like your initial risk. And, if it's like a 3-die roll, then you roll the 3 dice, and you could potentially have, I want to say, 6 missiles that you'd have to dodge if you fail. And then you roll, because it's, again, by chance, and you could roll like 0 on the defense, and that means you take like a ton of damage, and there's all kinds of consequences for that. Just... Overall, I would say this game is amazing. I've considered picking up my own copy also, but the main people I play with already own a copy, so I kind of haven't made that plunge just yet. But maybe I should to support them a little more. Actually, I should do that. So,
or if you happen to like move away or something, and then you.
Well, yeah.
Then you'd have to buy it.
Then I'd have to. I wouldn't have.
Or you'd have to find new people that have their own copies. Be like, hey.
That'd be my threshold for friendship. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm Josh. Oh, yeah. By the way, do you have this game? Oh, you don't.
Sorry,
I guess
can't be friends.
Again.
Yep. Anyway, yep.
I don't know what metric one would use to rank a board game against the other, but just for fun, where does this game rank with you?
Let's see.
Where do you moon rank it?
Now. Where would I moon rank it? Oh gosh, I say we'll go with like a 5 moon scale.
A 5 moon scale.
So it's not Earth, so we just got one. I would probably give it a 4 or 5. I think.
Yeah.
Now. I hesitate to say this because I feel like it's going to cause I don't want to say rift, but it would be like a tangent. But I want to say like, now maybe this is just because I haven't played this game enough, and this is why I'm not a fan of it. But I am not a big fan of Carcassonne.
Really interesting.
So can you just put a pin in that, and then give me your rating of Moonrakers?
I didn't realize you didn't like Carcassonne. I never knew. Oh, okay.
Stabbing in my chest.
Let me just pull that knife out of my back. Oh, there it is. Okay. Moonrakers. I'm gonna say on a 5 moon scale, I want to give it 4 3/4 harvest moons.
Okay. I like it.
I think. Yeah, I thought it was brilliantly executed. The rules made sense. It really clicked together. We didn't have to, like with Fallout, that's a really good example because it felt like I feel like if we pulled that out, we'd have to reread all of the rules, and it would probably take us another 45 minutes to get booted up. But Moonrakers, I feel like it's stuck with me a little bit. I think if we pull it out, I would need a refresher, sure, but we could do it.
The concept is pretty simple. I mean, I think they have like helper cards, like a lot of games do, that tell you the process of the turn in there. So it's like, you know, once you've played that a few times, like, or played through the turns, and like you kind of, like you said, it kind of sticks with you. Whereas, well, I'm sure if we played Fallout more, it would, but like, I just feel like there wasn't that kind of like crystallizing moment with Fallout where it's like, I get it, or it's like we'd have to put in more time with it.
So much
It was
time.
a lot of effort, and I feel like we had trouble interpreting the rules a lot, so we had to like look at videos of like, some YouTube channels that play through the games, but even then I feel like it didn't make sense to me.
Same. Moonrakers, though, right out of the box, we read the rules, we played the first game, and we kind of muddled through it, but then the second game I felt went really smooth, and then we brought more people in, and, you know, it kind of spiraled from there.
Yeah, it's a good one. So, highly recommend.
Absolutely. You don't like Carcassonne.
I just like...
So, okay.
I don't know. It's like I felt... I mean, like, this is why I think I just haven't played it enough. Because, like, when I play it, I suck at it. And, I don't know. I just, like, it doesn't, like, resonate with me as, like, a... You know, and I know that that's a very terrible thing to say, but
I love Carcassonne. There's like expansions. I bought the big box. There's like a picture that I found on the internet where these guys played like, I don't know, a ridiculously long and huge game, and their table ended up taking up like 12 by 12 feet, and it was just the most absurd thing ever. And I saw that picture and I thought to myself, why isn't that me? How come I'm not there playing?
It can be.
So Carcassonne is a unique game where it's a tabletop board game, kind of. There's tiles that you draw, and you build the board as you play. And then you place meeples to claim different things as you build.
I'm sorry, Smeeples?
Meeples. 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 And then at the end of the game, you tally up your scores, and whoever scored the most wins. It's pretty, I think rules-wise, it's pretty straightforward compared to some other games like, well, Fallout.
Yeah, it's like the rules were pretty, like, the general idea, the gist of like how the turn goes in Carcassonne, you know, it's pretty easy to pick up. But then it's like, I think I was overwhelmed by like the strategy, like the it's like that kind of like easy to learn, difficult to master kind of thing. Where
it really is.
Where, you know, you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, you know, I'll just capture or place a person, you know, here, and I get, you know, I get this, or I'm guaranteed, you know, whatever this amount. But then you got people like you, or like, you know, other people you play with that are just like, well, I'm gonna do this, and, you know, and it's just, you know, you're thinking like 20 steps ahead, which, you know, I think probably is a mark of a good game, right?
Yeah, it's great. I think one of the reasons why I ended up liking it so much is I can play with my kids who, and I started playing with them a few years ago when they were even younger. So there's a lot of, like Nate was saying, a lot of simple strategy that they can learn. So it's a good learning strategy game for them. You can just draw, see what you get, play, and have a good time doing that. Or you can kind of think about like what's left in the draw bag, and think about, well, I know that there's no more of the cities that have this shape, so I can't finish my wall, or that sort of thing, and kind of plan out what you claim and how you claim it. And you can't claim something that somebody else has already claimed with a meeple on your turn. However, if you place something like adjacent to them and then it gets connected, then that's a different story. And so that's like a level of strategy that goes into it. So that's probably why I like it, is because, you know, I tend to enjoy strategy-based games quite a bit. My kids, obviously, you know, when I got this game, they were in like 4th grade and kindergarten. So there's, you know, high-level strategy wasn't really up their alley, but they really liked playing it. They liked building the map and stuff. So that's probably why I became so enamored with it.
I think part of it is just like I'm a little intimidated by it. just playing, like, me having a very basic and limited understanding and exposure to it. I've only played it a few times, to you and other, and the folks we play with that that are like, play this a lot, and they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna do all these things, and I'm just like, I put a thing down and I get a point, maybe. Okay. So yeah, I think it's, if I were to play it some more, and I'm sure I would probably appreciate it more.
It's kind of it's one of the few games though where it talks about playing friendly in the rules. Most games, like, the goal is for you to win. Okay, so it's a degree of competitiveness, and there is that in Carcassonne. I can't pretend like it's not there, because it definitely is. But it also talks about in the rules about, like, if someone's gonna place something in a dumb place, don't let them do it. And
now, is that an official rule, or is it like a suggested house rule kind of thing?
It's in the rules, like.
So you're supposed to be
friendly. Yeah.
Okay.
And be like, if someone's like, ooh, I got this weird piece, I don't know where to place it, then everybody leans in and like helps you strategize a little bit and is like, well, you could place it here, or maybe place it here. These seem like good spots to me. So it's kind of like that.
So is there ever any degree of, like, deception with it? I guess that would go against the rules then.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be. It's kind of, I mean, obviously you could be really mean and totally, I don't know.
I suppose that wouldn't make the game quite as enjoyable if you're just totally cutthroat and you're just like, oh, and you're totally, like, lying to people, like, yeah, you should put it over there, that'd be great, and just like, oh, look what you did.
Yeah,
silly.
Right. Yeah.
Now I win again.
It's one of those games too where definitely I was like, I've played with a bunch of my friends and different people and in different combinations of people. And I was like, yeah, no, I feel pretty good about my skills as a Carcassonne player. And then I went online and I, like, downloaded the app and tried to play online, and I was like, I can't win. I've never won an online match. It does not happen. I cannot do it.
So is this is it on the phone, like on your phone? They have a phone app, or is it on the computer?
Yeah, it's available on Android and iOS.
Oh, what about Windows Phone?
I couldn't say.
It's not really a thing anymore, so.
If any of our listeners has a Windows Phone, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah. How are you still making it work? I think
I would like to know who hurt you and if we can get you to therapy.
Now, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, apparently there's people that, not the latest iteration, like after Microsoft, like, basically gave up on Windows Phone, but, like, Windows Phone 7, I believe. Wow. There's a lot of very passionate people that were into that.
Oh, cool. Well, if you're one of those, I want to hear from that.
But anyway,
I'd like to do a comparison.
I don't know if a Windows Phone still works. I think you could maybe activate it, but Microsoft isn't. I don't think they're offering updates anymore. Maybe they're doing, like, security patches, but
you can turn it on. No apps.
No apps. Yeah, there's no apps. You could probably get cell service, so you could, call 911 or your grandma or whatever. But yeah, that was always the problem. No apps.
They tried really hard for about 10 minutes. They had a Windows Phone, and actually, I did almost, like, that was on my list. I was like, when I'm ready to upgrade, I might get a Windows Phone, because there's a Sherlock Holmes remake on TV called Elementary. Not sure if it's still on, but I started watching that, and so they started doing product placement in that, and they had, like, a little camera attachment, so he needed to, like, get in, and he had this little thing it just clipped on to the phone's camera so that you could have, like, a little zoom/macro lens. And I was like,
Zeiss lens?
Dang, if I could have that technology on my phone, that'd be great. And then my brother-in-law got a Windows Phone, and I was like, hey, can I check that out? And so I did, and I was like, yeah, this is garbage, buddy, you should return it.
So Windows phones were always known for having really good cameras.
Yeah.
Like outstanding cameras. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me that they were kind of pimping that out in that show. I had one briefly. So through my work, they kindly provide or pay a large portion of the like if you want to upgrade and phone service and that kind of thing. So that's cool. So it's just like, hey, upgrade time. Get a new phone.
Nice.
And so my upgrade came, and I was all like, I really want to try a Windows phone. I should get a Windows phone. I think I had like an iPhone at the time. And everyone was like, what? Really? Are you sure? Like the guy that I talk to, at work, that I tell him what I want, he's like, what? And I was like, oh no, it'll be cool. It's work. We use, it's Microsoft. We use Outlook and all that stuff. Word at work. So I put it on my phone. It'll be awesome. And so he's like, okay. So I ordered it and I got it. And I was like, I'm a guy that likes to download apps, like whatever, social media, games, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and I ran immediately. I was like, well, shoot, there's not very many apps for this phone.
3 minutes later, he downloaded all 7 apps.
Yep, done. It's like I got my email set up. I can text people, and I got the apps for work, and okay.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit? Like, you remember in the early days of DVD where one of the special features was like trailers for other movies? That's what the Windows Phone felt like. It was like, I downloaded an app. Which app is it? The text messaging app.
Text messaging app. Yay. I downloaded Weather.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
So I had it. I think I had it for like a week. And I was immediately when I got it, I was just like, ugh. Like all my naivete, and like starry-eyed technology stuff. I was, I got it, and I was just like, this sucks. And I thought like taking pictures. I'm like, oh, well, at least the camera's gonna be awesome, right? So I took pictures, and I'm like, these don't look that great. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, this is supposed to be really great. Like some 80 billion megapixel camera. I don't know, it was like 20. I don't know, I think at the time. Anyway, so I wasn't impressed. So I told the guy at work, I was like, yeah, you're right. Can you just get me an iPhone? And that's what happened. So anyway, that's a tangent we went on there. We're talking about Carcassonne.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the app.
Playing it on your phone. Yeah, so I played there's actually I have 2 apps for the Carcassonne app.
You said it was mobile, like it was phone. Is there a computer version too or no? Do people even play like casual games like that on their computer? I'm sure they do.
I don't know. Maybe.
There are computer gamers. I do play games on my computer, but
I'm sure it's out there. There's there's like forums and like fan clubs still and whatnot for Carcassonne, so I'm sure there is.
I think I actually downloaded that one time. Like
I think you did.
It was on my like. You were talking about like your Nook or something. You had it on your Nook.
Yeah. So
you're like, Nate, you should download this game. We can play Carcassonne. And so I think we played a couple games maybe, and then it was just kind of like.
Yeah. My old Nook HD Plus. So a long time ago, I was gonna get a tablet. And I was kind of asking a few of my tech friends a little bit, and they were like, oh, don't waste your money on that. Just get an iPad. It's going to serve you so much better. And I was like, nah, I really like my Nook color that I had rooted and sideloaded a bunch of stuff. Felt like a hacker man. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to get the Nook HD Plus, also because it was cheaper, and at the time, it had one of the best screens available. So I got it, and that thing lasted me, no joke, like 8 years of pretty decent use. And then when they unlocked like the Android App Store for it, and I could sync up my apps that way, I was like, oh, I can play Carcassonne on here. Perfect. So it was my Carcassonne device.
Wait, so I had one. I bought one, and I rooted it. And loaded, it was in, obviously mine was like in like a janky Android setup.
Cyanogen mod, probably.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So you had the Nook color though, I think.
I can't remember what it was.
I'm pretty sure. And that one was actually a lot easier to slice into. The when they upgraded to the HD and the HD Plus, it got a lot more tricky, and I never actually needed to because they finally unlocked Android App Store for Barnes & Noble. And
yeah, I was gonna say, so they actually did that.
Yeah,
so you could load all your Google stuff on there in the App Store.
I could read Kindle books on my Nook.
Yay! And they're like, Barnes and Noble's like, no. Yeah, I actually ended up selling it to one of my wife's co-workers back in the day.
Yeah. I brought my Nook color from somebody who was it was my stepdad. He was upgrading to an iPad, of course.
An iPad does everything.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, that's nifty, because I think that's probably what a lot of people were probably clamoring for. They're like, just make it a tablet. Just make it like a regular Android tablet.
Yeah, and
like,
now that's
fine.
like what they're doing. I think Lenovo is going to make the next wave of Barnes and Noble tablets.
Are they still making them?
They are. They're going to. I heard some stuff. We'll see. Who knows?
My question is, well, I mean, they still make Kindles, obviously. But it's like, why? So it's like, why? Okay. Now, like, why would you get one of those over an iPad? I mean, I know that's probably, you're probably just like, God, Nate.
So, well, funnily enough, I have an iPad now, and I use it, and it's okay. And I mean that exactly like it sounds. It's okay. iPads are not great. I think I kind of...
Josh,
a
lot of our listeners are probably turning us off right now.
That's probably true. I'm notoriously pro Android, okay? I've got a Pixel phone. I don't like Apple phones. But if you do, that's fine. Nate, you kind of go back and forth. That's cool.
And
I haven't disowned you yet.
I will say that I had a hand in pushing you into getting an iPad. A little bit.
It has certain functionality over other ecosystems. And so, like audio editing, I found an app and it works really great. And the pencil's real nice. The downside is that I forgot just how much the operating system takes up space-wise, to the point that I don't understand why there's even a 32 gigabyte iPad. And that's something that I just totally spaced because I got so used to like expandable memory.
So is that the size you got, was 32?
I did. I got a 32. Totally regret it. I should have gotten the 100 or maybe held out for a Pro. The other downside is I can't download directly to my iPad. I have to download to like my phone and then upload it to a different app, which then I can download to my iPad most of the time. But to answer your question of like, why would you get a Nook? So specifically, why would you get a Nook tablet? Basically, it's for people who don't want to mess around with technology too much. If you like to read a lot on a full color screen, they're pretty easy to use. It comes pre-installed. The Barnes & Noble app is pretty easy to use, so you just kind of tap it, and it gives you a physical brick and mortar store to take it into if you have an issue.
True.
So you could argue it's for a certain demographic of people. But also it just, my Barnes & Noble discount applied to the Nook HD Plus when I got it. So there was that. It made it actually a little bit cheaper than going with something else. At the time, an iPad was like $100 to $200 more.
Right.
And it didn't do anything that I needed or wanted it to do at the time.
Well, and I know like the Kindles, I mean, I know they have like, I actually, even though I did own one of the Nooks, I don't know a lot about them. But I know like the Kindles have like the, like the real, like the Paperwhite or whatever they call it, where it's, just bare bones, basic, you're just reading books. That's all you're doing.
Well, yeah, and that's like a different thing because the e-readers, I mean, those are people who want to read, but not have like a physical book.
Right.
So I actually have one of those Nooks presently. That's the e-ink. Got the Nook 3 glow light or something.
Because it's like you can carry so many books with just one, with the size of like one book.
And it is pretty handy. So I have the button. Mine has the option where I can swipe on the screen, or there's buttons that I can use to turn the pages. And it's it's pretty handy. It's not, for me, nothing really replaces like physically holding a book and turning the pages, but I'd say it's pretty close.
And I, back in the day when I used to have a blog, I mean, I still have it, but I haven't written on it in a long time. I blogged about this thing. The difference between, kind of the physical book camp and like the e-reader or the tablet camp. And at the time I was like, man, I really just like reading a book on a device doesn't feel like I'm actually reading a book. Like, it's like obviously I'm not physically reading a book, but it like almost feels like it doesn't count. Or at the time is kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
Or like audiobooks. Like I've always kind of had and it's probably because I haven't listened to them really, but like I always kind of feel like you're not really reading it when you listen to it.
It depends. It kind of depends.
Yeah.
I like audiobooks. I like my audiobooks.
Yeah.
Really
I know you
handy.
do. I know you like those, and a lot of people do.
But I also like reading, and they're not the same, but I think it counts.
Like, obviously, it means it's someone telling you a story.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's like...
So it's like you're going to pick it up. I mean, you watch movies, you watch TV shows, you listen to stories. I mean, this is...
And there's some readers that can make a decent book great as well. And they put like a different... Because, some readers, it's really hokey, and they're reading along like, and he said to her, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" Oh, my goodness. So there's some of that, but occasionally you find a book where there's like an actual actor reading it, and they bring their craft to the book, and it really gives the book like a new flavor and a new life. So sometimes it's kind of nice.
And I suppose like if you're listening to someone read it, especially if an actor, you could probably get a different interpretation or a different take on certain passages or even the whole thing. Like you read it and you're like, you read it and you think about it one way, like, and then you listen to them read it and you're like, wow, that's totally different. So it's like,
there's a book series I read that I'm a big fan of called the Dresden Files. I've probably recommended it before. If I haven't, Nate, then I apologize. You should read the Dresden Files.
No, you have. It's okay.
But I found these because when I worked downtown, I would sometimes like sprint to the library on my 15-minute breaks, go to like the new audiobook table and just pick a random audiobook and then sprint back to work and listen to that. And I picked the book Cold Day. No, which one was that? Small Favor. And the reason I picked it, I was like, ooh, what's this? Small Favor. Looks intriguing. And I look at the back, and I didn't even look at the description of the book. The first thing I looked at was a picture of the book narrator, and it was James Marsters, so Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh.
Which I'm not like a big fan of that show necessarily. I just remember watching like a couple of episodes in the middle of the night when I was a kid, and I was always like, it's Spike guy, it's great. So I was like, ooh, I'm going to get this just because he's the reader. And then like just completely loved the book, went back, discovered it was part of a series, read all of them. So I've like read them all, and I've listened to them all. And now I've like seen some interviews between the author, Jim Butcher, and the narrator, James Marsters. And Jim talks about James, and he's like, yeah, so sometimes you really put like emphasis on like certain things, and it makes certain situations almost seem like they come off a little humorous, and I didn't intend that. And so James was like, really? Which ones? And he was like, I'm not going to tell you which ones because I don't want you to like alter the way you read it. I like what you've brought to it. So it really kind of, it's a different, I think audiobooks are an art form in and of themselves. Or they can be.
Yeah, well, and you talk about, sometimes there's an actor, because, I mean, there's people that, that their job, they just narrate, or, they read these audiobooks or whatever, but maybe they're not throwing, like, thespian stuff at it, they're just, reading it to you. And I think you've told me, and I've heard, like, there's a certain recording of the Lord of the Rings audiobook where they have the whole they have a whole cast, right?
Yeah.
Was it like a BBC
Yes.
radio?
It was a BBC production.
This is from the 70s is when it was, or
60s maybe, 60s or 70s. I don't know. Long time ago anyway. So what's cool about it though is that the guy Ian Holm, who plays Bilbo in the Lord of the Rings movies, was Frodo in the audiobook production. But but it's all word for, well, there's like, I'm trying to remember now because it's been a real long time since I've listened to that version of it. I can't remember if it was the radio play, so they did take a little liberties, but I've also listened to some books where it's like inspired by the book, so like you would expect from a movie, only it's closer to the book, and so that it fits in a time slot for radio. But then I have other audiobooks, like I have a version of The Godfather in my Audible account where it's word for word the book, but different voices narrate different characters. And they really bring the acting chops to it, and it comes through real well.
Not just the narrator doing different voices, but actual different people.
Actual different people.
I read The Godfather quite a while ago, and it was good. You know, I've seen the movies and stuff, but I haven't. I'm a neophyte, I think is the word for with audiobooks. I haven't delved into it. I probably should.
I think I can share that book from, so if you decide to go with an Audible account,
I think I have one.
I can share that book with you and you can check it out. It's pretty good. It's an older recording, so it definitely has almost like a 70s vibe to it, just a little bit. It definitely sounds to me like it was recorded on reel-to-reels as opposed to like a digital recording.
A lot of like what do you call it, like
hissing,
you hear like the
it just has a different
the pops,
a different quality. Like there's certain things that they did differently then that we don't do now. So yeah, there's just a different a different sound and a different timbre that we used to go for with audiobooks, because it was just the style. It's not like there's not like a lot of transatlantic accents in it or anything like that, but it's just, it has a very different sound and feel, and you can tell it's an older recording, but it is fantastic.
Maybe that'll be the one that'll push me into audiobooks. And it obviously you're not just like one, take one and get rid of the others. I mean, it's a different, like you said, it's an art form. It's a different way to take in pieces of literature. You can read it on screen, you can hold the actual book in your hand and read it, or you can listen to the audio version.
Absolutely. I'm pretty pro literacy. It kind of doesn't matter to me too, like what the book is. If somebody took the trouble to write it and convinced a publisher to publish it, that's fine. Like, it's all kind of viewer discretion is advised. Consumer discretion is always advised. If you are reading something and you don't like it, don't finish it. Don't recommend it. Burn after reading if you'd like. I don't know. I will say I found a lot of really cool books that have brought a lot to like our GURP sessions. For those of you who don't know, GURPS is Generic Universal Roleplay System by Steve Jackson Games. This podcast also not sponsored by Steve Jackson Games.
But we wish it was.
But we kind of wish it was, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that I've like almost completely ripped from books that I found on accident because of like Audible, where they're like, "Hey, this book is on sale. You want to check it out?" And I did.
So, and that's cool. Like, you weren't really expecting, you didn't know what to expect when you got that, and you're just like, "Wow, that's neat. I'm going to use this, in GURPS." Have there been ones that were, I don't know, recommended, or you saw them and then you check it out and you're like, this is garbage?
Yeah, so actually Audible has a good return policy. You can return any book, and it kind of doesn't, and it used to be, it's been a while since I've had to return a book, but it used to be that you could return any book regardless of like how long you've had it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did that, I actually had The Hobbit, but the narrator for the version that I had was just terrible. He sounded bored and like he hated his job. And so I returned that.
Hobbit's not even that long. Come on.
I know, man. Like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and be like,
just
hey, payday.
Power through it, yeah. Get that money, man.
Absolutely. So yeah, there was that, and then there was one other book too where I can't remember which one it was, but I got it. I started listening to it, and I was like, I don't like it. I don't know if it's the narrator, don't know if it's the book. I'm done. Oh no, I do remember. It was They made it into a movie. What's that movie? Will Smith and like the zombies and the dog.
I Am Legend?
It was the I Am Legend, the book. I started that on Audible, and I was like, I don't like the narrator at all. And so I just returned it.
Did you read the book? Like actually read it? Or
not yet, no.
No? See, I'd recommend that one. I read it. And I don't even think it's very long. But yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, it's interesting that, with the Audible or, with audiobooks, the narrator, the quality of the narrator, and I guess the attitude or whatever that they put into it, like that's just another aspect that you have to take into consideration. Because with a book, you're just like, I'm sure a lot of people buy books because they're like, wow, look, the cover is all cool, and I like this picture, but then it's just text. I mean, mostly, depending on the book, obviously, but.
Well, that's like the weird thing is people are always like, don't judge a book by its cover. And I'm like, no, that's why books have covers. So you can try and judge them a little bit. Honestly, I don't know.
But you might be wrong if you do it that way. You might miss out.
Yeah, there's a couple of like narrators that I recommend. Anything that they read, I am in favor of.
So if they did like the phone book or something, I mean,
yeah,
if they make those still.
Yeah, so Ray Porter is one of them. He's just like a fantastic reader. There's another guy, Tim Gerard Reynolds. He's really good. They both work because they bring different cadences to like different people that they read, and there's a lot of depth to it. Anyway,
so like a male narrator, I mean, I'm sure there's like an art to and a choice they have to make, like when they read, if they're going to read a female voice, are they going to go all like, I'm going to change my voice so it sounds like a female, or they're just going to go straight like reading the text and that's it?
Yeah, so that's always a kind of an interesting thing when somebody reads the opposite gender. And there's some that I like who, when they read, when it's a male reader and they're doing a female voice, they just like alter their cadence and they kind of bring it a little more high pitched, but they don't try to sound like a woman.
Like, oh, I'm being a girl now. They don't do that garbage.
Yeah, because it just sounds. I think it just sounds fake. And although they're not trying to sound real, they realize that they can't make it sound real. And so they just do enough so that way when the female speaks, it's not like you have to be like, wait a minute, who said that? Wait, who said that? So that I really appreciate about readers. And I think that's kind of a skill that you have to learn probably with experience, I would imagine.
Yeah, because that's like, there's definitely skill, and like, you have to decide how you're going to do that, because my only experience with reading books out loud is reading to my son, and sometimes like for a while there I would really try to do all these like different voices and make each character, reading these like kids books, and trying to do like each character differently and like really unique. And for a time it was all right, but then after a while he's like don't do those voices. So then I just read it straight, read stuff straight now, and don't really try to alter it much. Don't throw accents, or don't change the really don't change like the high the pitch or anything like that.
My kids are pretty hit and miss on that. I have one book in particular where it takes place in like a bayou in Texas. And so my daughter insists that like I ratchet it up to 11 when I read it. And she just, even if the story's not particularly humorous, she just dies laughing because nice. I go all the way. And when the characters yell, I yell, and she just loves it. But then there's other books too where she's like, maybe don't do that right now. And I'm like, okay. And then you just read and it's fine.
Yeah, okay, so I take that back. Like you're talking about Texas. I was reading some of the Hank the Cowdog books. Have you ever heard of those?
I have heard of them.
They're great kids books. I read them when I was a kid. But yeah, so I kind of try to differentiate. I was trying to differentiate the different characters and think of different ways to how to make their voices sound and the accents and everything. And he didn't tell me to stop doing that. And I was kind of having fun with it. The problem, I was having issues though. Like remembering who sounds like what.
Yeah, and I found that what I do is I pick an actor and like one of their roles, and I kind of, assuming there's not too many characters to do this with, because you do lose track real quick sometimes. But I try and associate that actor with like a certain character, and that way I try and imitate that a little bit. And like my kids don't know because they haven't seen the same movies I have, so I can do anything I want.
Right.
But if I'm like,
for now,
right, yeah,
till they get older, and then
so I'm like, all right, so this guy, he's old man McGillicuddy, he's gonna be Sam Elliott, and like, so that's what I'll do for him, and then it just varies throughout. So that's like my secret with them. So I'm like, okay, so this person, this actor from this role.
Yeah, because I was reading Hank the Cowdog, so they're all like, well, there's people, but there's most of the characters are animals. Dogs, cats, coyotes.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, man, is Pete the cat? Was I making him sound like some guy from like Brooklyn, or and Hank is just
Pete the cat.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll have to try the actor thing. I'm acting.
Yeah.
No, assigning different to a specific actor. I really like this tangent that we've gotten on. That's I really enjoy that, as opposed to like having like a real strict and rigid agenda, like powering through for recording a podcast.
Yeah. Well, we're the Open Eclectic. Why? Because we're open to talk about just about anything, and the topics tend to be very eclectic.
That's right.
We have a plan, and we don't bother sticking to it.
That, really, I think we found a really great name.
I like it a lot.
I like it much better than our original name.
Yeah.
The Week in Pop.
Yeah.
That almost feels like kind of lazy. I mean, it was my idea, that name, I think, and I
liked it too, though.
I don't know.
I was very on board with it, and then later as we started doing it, it was just like, I don't want to be tied to...
Yeah, I don't want to be like a news recapping, thing where we're just, okay, this week in pop. Where clearly we didn't record every week since, from when we started, so...
Yeah.
It's the year in pop. No, we're not gonna do that. This
join us next year at the same time for the next episode.
This gives us the title lends itself really well to our format, I think. Absolutely.
Merch coming soon.
Yep. That's about all we got time for today, here on the Open Eclectic. If you'd like to check us out online, on your various social medias, we're the Open Eclectic on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, and so if people are interested in seeing more from you, Nate, I understand you're on another podcast very regularly.
Yes, I am. I'm on a podcast called Tire Kicker, and it's actually a couple guys that I work with. And we all appreciate cars and just like talking about whatever. So it's you can find them online. Find us online at Tire Kicker Media. We're on all the social medias. We're on Ko-Fi as well. I don't know if we have a Ko-Fi. I think we do.
I was just gonna ask what Ko-Fi is.
So Ko-Fi, it's ko-fi.com /the Open Eclectic /Tire Kicker Media. It's a place where fans can buy you a coffee.
Oh.
So they basically throw you they can donate to you.
It's like a commitmentless Patreon.
Yeah. Yes, basically.
Cool.
Like, hey, get yourself a frappuccino, bro. Right. So yeah, I mean, this shows how familiar I am with it. Tire Kicker's we've gotten a couple donations. There's like a set amount, like $5 or something, buy a coffee, and so
cool.
Yeah. So if people really like the show and either of the shows and they want to donate and have that money go back into the podcast, go for it. And Josh, I know that you are part of another podcast. Why don't you tell us about that?
I'm occasionally a guest on and editor of the Toy Photographers Podcast, the official podcast of toyphotographers.com. Or you could find me on Instagram. I'm the Gray Cleric. That's THEGE. Or you can find me on Instagram at the Gray Cleric. That's the spelled the usual way, THE, Gray, GREY, Cleric, KLERIK, where I do toy photography and sometimes other cool stuff too.
Highly recommend the Gray Cleric. A lot of cool toy photography and other things on there as well.
Thinking about starting a store.
Really?
Yeah, thinking about selling, maybe putting together some prints that are like kind of my quality. I'm also under that username. You could find me on like all kinds of stuff.
Just Google it.
Just Google it. I think I'm on Flickr. I think I started a Flickr a long time ago, and that's where I put like some of my more high quality images that would definitely be up for sale. Humorously, I actually predicted an episode of The Mandalorian. So, spoiler warning. Remind me, Nate, have you caught up on Mandalorian? I don't want to spoil it. Then I'm not going to say anything.
I got about 5 minutes into the first episode. I was watching it with my son, and I was like, "Oh, someone's head's going to get like cut off or something." I'm like, "We probably shouldn't watch this." So I was like, it's one of those shows. I'm like, I know I need to watch it. I'm just like, I haven't carved out time to do it yet.
Okay. Well, anyway.
So wait, okay, without spoiling it, so you predicted it in a series of photos that you set up with your toys? Like
yes,
the toy photos?
There's a particular photo where I was like, oh, you know what I should do is what I did. and then literally the next week, I have a friend who actually helped me with the photo and does aerial photography, and so he's kind of like my photography buddy a little bit. He calls me, he goes, Josh. I was like, what? And he goes, did you see this week's episode yet? And I was like, no, not yet. I'm waiting. I got to watch it with my kids, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, well, would you hurry up and then let me know when you're done? Which was weird because, like, you know, we don't talk about shows a lot, and he doesn't watch a lot of shows, so it was even more peculiar. And then I found out that, like, the shot that I took, something very similar happens in an episode of The Mandalorian. And I took the shot before I saw the episode, so that was kind of like a fun...
So now I need to get caught up. Is this from season 1? Because they're on season 2 now.
Oh, man. I think it was from season 1.
Now, would this photo be on your Flickr account or on Instagram?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah, dude, you should start a store. That'd be sweet. Get a store going. You could go you can go Patreon. You should do that.
I mean, we'll see.
Awesome.
I have had one person purchase a set of my prints. I did a 6-image narrative for the Toy Photographers blog, and in case you don't know, a 6-image narrative is where you tell a story in 6 images, and I did one about the stormtrooper who was looking for the droids on Tatooine. And so I had somebody reach out to me and was like, I'd like to buy a set of these. And I was like, really? So I did. I sold them a set, and I got a set for me, and they're like metallic prints, and they're very nice.
Sweet.
But anyway.
Awesome.
So yeah, you can find us there. I engage. You can PM me at the Great Cleric. I'll message you back.
Maybe.
Or PM us on the Open Eclectic. We love to hear from you.
Yeah. 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 This is just scintillating what I'm saying right now. Yeah, what Josh said. If you wanna shoot us a message, go for it, and we will get back to you. And if you got any ideas or things you'd like us to talk about, let us know, and we'll see if we can incorporate it into the show. So until next time, witty catchphrase?
Insert witty catchphrase here.
Cool. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find The Open Eclectic on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and MySpace. Want us to ramble on about something specific or have a comment on what you just heard? Send us an email at theopeneclectic@gmail.com. We now have a Ko-Fi if you feel like supporting the show. That's ko-fi.com/theopeneclectic. or support the show by leaving us a review. Thanks. We hope you'll join us again next time on The Open Eclectic.